if you know the source, let's say the source we discovered is Lyme and or the co-infections. Okay, so we've got this imbalance out there. And then we also know that they're using some of your life resources. And so through a simple blood test and hair analysis in different ways, you can figure out what is depleted. So if we can get the source under control somewhat, and then we give the body what it needs, what's been deficient or depleted by the imbalance in your microbiome, right? Then, like you say, you've now created that healing platform that our actual deliverer gave us to start with, right out of the womb, and then we bounce back because that's what the body wants to do. This is my theory. I'm just going to put it out there, but there's many approaches to working with Lyme patients in terms of therapies. And one that's been traditional has been using different cocktails of antibiotics and so forth. And it works. So it works for a time. It's particularly nice or critical if you first discover within the first 30 to 30 days or so of being exposed to Lyme or the co-infections. If you use a strong antibiotic, you can knock it out and never get symptomatic. But then there's a price that you pay, and that is that the antibiotic maybe go after the underlying source, but also kills beneficial bacteria in the same process, creating that imbalance again. And so balancing out or rebalancing this microbiome, creating that homeostasis, as you say, is super important. What I love about what you do is taking the whole discussion about antibiotics, pharmaceuticals, synthetic approaches, which can work and sometimes for a short time, sometimes they're really effective. And I'm not going to comment either way on that. I love going after the underlying source with nature. The bugs, they're not surprised about oxygen. They're not surprised about heat or sunlight. This is just natural effects. Right. But when you can give them doses of oxygen through your delivery system, nitric oxide, for instance, if your body is just depleted, you're oxidative stressed and so forth, and you can create that balance again, you're actually coming through the back door and hitting these guys, the bad bugs, by surprise, not with a synthetic because they're smart. They feel the imbalance chemically from an antibiotic and they burrow into a cyst state, go into your soft tissue, you go into remission, and then they come back out at some later date when they see that the coast is clear, What I'm looking at are therapies that are recruiting nature so that we can actually attack them front on, from the back, from the windows, where they're not suspecting anything. Because if you give them oxygen and they don't like oxygen, wham, you're helping your healthy body, your healthy tissues, and you're also knocking out the invader or rebalancing that microbiome. So I think today, and talking to you and discovering these things and people listening, they're simple. They're using and recruiting the body physiology as it's designed to do. This is our playbook, and through aging or through genetic proclivities or maybe epigenetics with changing environment and how that affects us, those mechanisms are impaired. So your solutions are so relevant because you're offering a way to jumpstart the body, a way to get to the underlying source. It's not even a sneak attack. It's like hitting them straight on with nature. So they're somewhat surprised and they're going, oh yeah, I remember that oxygen. They have nowhere to hide anymore because you're actually going, you understand what they don't like and you're giving them what they don't like. And they're organisms. They've got lifespans themselves, right? And so, if you make, my mother used to say this to me when I was very young. She said, son, I love you so much, but I'm not going to make my house so comfortable for you so that after you're done with college, you just want to come back and live with me. So that's kind of the lesson here. It's like, let's make our internal environment really healthy for us, but uncomfortable for these bugs. So eventually they just die off or go away or find someone else to annoy. And I think you've got an amazingly great solution. So I love the nitric oxide. I love oxygen therapy in general for just general health. And, what you've done is epic. in terms of contribution, not just in your own research, but also in the body of research you're doing, and how important it is, and how more important it's coming in the world that we're living, the toxic environment we're living in these days.
Yeah, we employed these strategies of, applied physiology, because you said, modern medicine is applied pharmacology, and there's always collateral damage, even with antibiotics. So if you can recapitulate physiology and basically give the body what it needs, it'll eradicate the disease itself. And so I think it's doing two things. Number one, recognizing what you're doing, what the individual patient's doing that may be disrupting their own nitric oxide production. And that's mainly two things: using antiseptic mouthwash and using antacids. Both of those have been shown to shut down nitric oxide production. So I tell any sick patient, if you're using mouthwash, you have to stop. It causes your blood pressure to go up. It decreases nitric oxide production. If you're using antacids, you have to stop. Your body can't make nitric oxide without the stomach acid. So those are stop doing the things that disrupt it, and then start doing the things that promote it. So you have to get up and you have to move. You have to do moderate physical exercise. You need sunlight. You need light therapy. You need to sweat and excrete and get rid of the toxins. And those simple things, along with some very simple, cost-effective strategies that we've developed, that you guys have developed, really provide life-changing modalities for patients that previously were given a very poor prognosis and outlook and really lost all hope. And hope is a very powerful force.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a big thing. And when you're sick and you have chronic challenge, it's like that ethereal hourglass. You're just watching grains of sand, which is your life, going through the hourglass and slipping away from you. And it's so nice to know and inspiring to know that there is therapies, there are interventions like you've created out there that really can get your body back on track. It's amazing. I've listened to you over the years in many presentations, and there's one segment that you talk about different food sources that support natural production, body health, and so forth. And what was really unique, like you could take one like broccoli, one plant or one vegetable, and if it's grown in different parts of the country based on the light and the nutrition of the soil, it's going to have different nutritional elements. So if people think, well, I'm eating broccoli, it's really good for me, and it's going to do this and it's going to do that. And what you pointed out is that not all broccoli is the same. And that's so freaking important for people to understand, because when they're trying so hard to supplement themselves with good nutrition, and they think they're doing everything right, they're not quite getting what's on the label, in terms of their digestion. And so I love that. And just what you just talked about, mouthwash, you see the commercials, you think, well, what's worse, having bad breath in social environments, or killing off one of the most essential things that the body does, like producing nitric oxide. No one really understands that. And certainly the people that make mouthwash aren't telling us that. So we need someone like yourself to actually point out these simple things that are just household chemicals, household routines that we go through aren't necessarily so good for us.
Yeah, I think people have good intent. Maybe surprising, Robbie, but the media can misinform us at times. And I think, a lot of these paid ad commercials, you talk about fresh breath and mouthwash, but the data are very clear. You use mouthwash, it disrupts nitric oxide production, your blood pressure goes up. 200 million Americans have an unsafe elevation in blood pressure. 200 million Americans use mouthwash every day. It's not a coincidence. And I think it's unrecognized. And the other thing is, fluoride toothpaste, antacids. If you're sick, you have to stop doing the things that are not allowing your body to heal itself. And these are things that people do on a daily basis with good intent, but you have to understand there's always collateral damage of disrupting the microbiome or human physiology. So get out of the way and let the body do what it's designed to do.
Fantastic. Love all of this. Nathan, your time is really valuable, and I love the elements and the discoveries that we've talked about today. We only have a few minutes left. So I was wondering if there's anything we left out that you feel that you need to let us all know about. That actually, first off, how do we find you? I found you, and that was that was the deliverance from, like that wasn't serendipitous. We were meant to know one another in a big way. But if people want to know what you're doing these days, tell us what's your website, like, can we email you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I've got an educational, informative website. It's drnathansbryan.com. There's a 6-minute video on there that informs on, educates on nitric oxide. You can follow me on social media, Instagram at Dr. Nathan S. Bryan. So that's really the main way. You can Google me. I think my email is probably on there. I get dozens, about hundreds of emails every day. But Robbie, I think one thing I'd like to mention is we have a drug in phase 3 clinical trials for COVID. And COVID is obviously an infectious disease, a viral infection. But the same comorbidities in patients that are susceptible to coronavirus infection are the same ones that are probably susceptible to Lyme disease, bacterial infections. And what we're finding is that these patients that are susceptible are deficient in nitric oxide. It explains that population, the African Americans, the ones with underlying comorbidities of heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. And so we're repleting nitric oxide in these patients. We're seeing them getting better. We're seeing their blood oxygen levels go from the high 70s, low 80s to upper 90s within 5 minutes of our nitric oxide therapy. So that is unequivocal in terms of the benefits of nitric oxide, and it's providing the oxygenation that these patients need with the COVID infection. So I think this has widespread utility because every single chronic disease has a component of low blood flow, low oxygen, and we can now correct that. So I'm excited about that you can find more information about that study at aacovidstudy.com.
Wow. And man, you guys out there listening, you have to check this out because this is a game changer. What Dr. Bryan is doing now is really going to really change the whole fabric of the way that we look at just building the immune system, helping our bodies naturally recover from challenges like, coronavirus is certainly something that's present. But the idea of viruses, viral infections, bacterias, all these different things, mold, it's not a new story. It just seems to repeat itself with a different title on it. And the idea that you can come up with a real solution that's not just applied to the current pandemic that we're dealing with, but just holistically can help the body support itself, build that strong armor, build that big shield. And so the pathogen might be there knocking at your door, might try to get in, might get in for a short time, but at the end of the day, you're going to be the winner. And I really think that is so amazing. And we so are appreciative of you, Dr. Bryan, and the things that you're doing and the effort. Really, it's sort of unwavering effort in your mission, to continue the education, raise the bar on the research, come out with new developments, come out with new biosciences and applications that we can use every single day to make a difference in our lives. You're amazing. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you,
And we support you 1,000,000%. You guys out there listening, this guy is in the know. He's a happening dude, and you have to get on board. Whatever he's doing, make sure that it's a part of your lives. Dr. Bryan, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin. Keep up your good work.
The Healthy Hotline is your go-to resource for leading-edge health technologies and is powered by Therasage. Therasage brings unique, healthy infrared healing energy to the public in easy-to-use and affordable, high-quality products. To learn more about Therasage, as well as get a discount on your next purchase for being a listener of the show, go to Therasage.com and enter Healthy Hotline at checkout. That's one word, Healthy Hotline, to get a special discount on your next Therasage purchase.